Hello everyone, welcome back to Gut Check, where I give you my initial reaction to the latest episode of Doctor Who, this time the Interstellar Song Contest. Doctor Who meets Eurovision. Now I am not somebody who gets into Eurovision, it sort of is another world to me, which I guess makes sense when you look at Eurovision from the outside, so perfect match for Doctor Who. But it is written by Juno Dawson, who wrote this wonderful 13th Doctor book, The Good Doctor, which is one of my favourite 13th Doctor stories out there, and I think Juno Dawson really got a handle on the 13th Doctor's character, and the same can be said with the 15th Doctor within this story. Now, Big Finish did their Eurovision story, Bang Bang a Boom, I think 23 years ago, so it's nice to see the TV series embrace Eurovision in that sense. This story could go either way for me. It's Eurovision, but also Juno Dawson, which is very exciting. So for me, this episode, I'm gonna be honest, I just feel a bit, okay, alright. We were warned about this story, but if you weren't going to watch this story at 8 o'clock in the morning on iPlayer and you were going to save it for when it's transmitted, to stay offline, because this one has got reveals and spoilers, and yeah, you don't want this to be ruined. So if you've not watched this story yet and you've clicked on this video, go and watch it, come back, and then we'll talk about these spoilers, because I'm going to talk about these spoilers, and I've got mixed feelings on those sort of spoilers and reveals. And talking of mixed feelings, this whole episode is sort of give me mixed feelings. I sort of feel very on the fence about it, because I really appreciate what the story is doing. I think that it is politically charged, but I think that the story has some wonderful ideas, and I feel like it's teeming with ideas, and it's just jam-packed with all these wonderful ideas, and I think it's trying to cram in all these ideas which are wonderful, but when it gets to sort of these key moments, it kind of loses its sort of impact, because it's sort of run out of its runtime really, which is a real shame. But let's talk about some positive things. Duggadoo, love that little guy. I want to know if he's safe. I hope that he's safe, because, you know, what an absolute bop he had within it. He'd get my vote. I think that's how Eurovision works. My main positive for this story is the 15th Doctor. I said that Juno Dawson had a great handle on the 13th Doctor's character, and I think that this story is no exception. I think Juno Dawson has written a brilliant sort of characterization of the 15th Doctor, and I feel like this is a nice combination of where we've been heading with the 15th Doctor's character, but sort of throughout this series we've sort of been seeing sort of the more manipulative side to his Doctor, with sort of the robot revolution, with him sort of scanning Belinda's DNA without her consent, and her going, I'm not one of your mysteries. So we've sort of been sort of going towards a more darker side to the 15th Doctor, which I really like, and just sort of seeing sort of the 15th Doctor really be tested within this, and sort of what he will do just to stop somebody. You know, real great little monologues within it, but also having that nice little bit of fun with sort of the confetti cannon sort of zooming back. It was very sort of, I guess, Fourth to Doomsday. But yeah, I think this was really wonderful stuff, which leads to some very interesting things with Belinda. I feel like Belinda really shined within this story when she sort of isolated and sort of just sort of going, what on earth has happened to the Doctor, and then her seeing the Doctor almost snap, and her going, that's not who the Doctor is. And I think this is another example with the story having these wonderful ideas, that this was a real great character beat for Belinda to go, look, whatever you are, I just want to go home now. And it's just a real shame that that sort of character conflict is dissolved very quickly, because the story needs to move on to the cliffhanger moment, and I feel like there's no real fallout from it. It just feels like, oh, we're best mates now again. You've done your torturing that character, which, you know, very dark moment for the 15th Doctor. You know, just seeing how far he will go was very interesting really, and yeah, really like that side. But like I say, but having that fallout with Belinda and not having a moment to breathe, to sort of talk about that sort of conflict of why he did what he did, yeah, it just feels like another example of a story just having all these ideas, but it just couldn't fit it all into the 45-minute time frame. That's a big plus for me with this story, the characterization of the 15th Doctor within this story. You know, I really like my Doctors to have a bit of a bite. My favourite Doctor is the 3rd Doctor, John Pertwee, who is very much, look, now you listen to me. You know, very authoritative figure, and you know, if he doesn't like it, he'll do Venetian Aikido on you. Hi. So yeah, great. So let's talk about the spoilers and the twist within this and the reveals. So, Susan's back. What a random episode for her to return in. It just feels so bizarre. But this is how she returns in the new series after sort of getting little teasers in season 1. So I guess it sort of makes sense after having that sort of cop-out stuff with Susan Triad away, and then here we are, Susan's back. And I assume that Susan is going to be in the finale. If you've seen Doctor Unleashed, then you'll notice that Carolyn Ford's in a different costume, so I assume that's going to be one of the big things that happen within this upcoming episodes, really. So that's going to be interesting to see. I did like how Susan was sort of that grounding force for the Doctor in a way. But going, no, stop, grandfather, you're going too far now. So I liked that aspect of it. Yeah, it just feels so bizarre. Like, it hasn't really sunk in that Susan's back after so many years of going, oh, I really wish, you know, the Doctor would see Susan again. You know, I think, you know, Peter Capaldi, that would have been wonderful to have a 12th Doctor and Susan story. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where we're gonna go with this, because you know, this isn't going to be the only time we have Susan. I'm positive about that. But the other big thing with this story is Mrs. Flood's identity is revealed. After so many series of going, bring back Susan, bring back the Rani, we got it all in one episode. And yeah, wow, this Mrs. Flood is the Rani, Anita Dobson is the Rani, and it's, again, this has got me feeling very kind of mixed and lukewarm on it, really, because again, I think we all speculated that it is the Rani, and we've got our wish now, so we can stop speculating when's the Rani gonna come back and move on to Omega. So when's Omega gonna come back? So is this sort of become the holy trinity of villains now, because we've got the two Ranis and Comrade? Is that going to be the divine trinity or whatever it's called? So that's going to be interesting. But the reveal, again, I talked about this story having so many ideas and trying to cram stuff into the runtime. I feel like it is such a disservice to have the reveal in sort of a post-credit scene. You know, one of the big mystery boxes left from season 1 was Mrs. Flood, and then to do it in sort of a post-credit scene just felt so bizarre, and just sort of a waste, really, of people's sort of investment into that sort of mystery box, really. So yeah, I feel like that could have been done better, really. I feel like it could have been actually part of the story, really. So yeah, I just wasn't really a fan of how they tackled that sort of reveal. And the reveal almost felt very sort of Sarah Jane Adventures-esque in a way. And we have Bi-Generation, which I still don't know how I feel about Bi-Generation personally. I didn't mind it as a one-off, like, oh yeah, the Toymaker's back, so the rules are, you know, out the window, really, we can do anything. But now this is Bi-Generation's becoming the norm regeneration, I'm starting to go, I'm really not keen on this sort of direction for it. But Varani being back, it's cool. There's not really much to say about it, really, to be honest, because I guess that'll be next week where we see the Rani's plan in action, or the Ranis. But yeah, like I say, it just seems like a weird moment within the story, but we have it sort of in a post-credit scene, which, yeah, it didn't really seem to have like an impact what you were sort of hoping for, even though you knew that Mrs. Blood was going to be the Rani, because, you know, that's what everyone's been saying for the past, you know, year and a bit. So yeah, it just seems a bit of a shame that the reveal was handled in that way. So there we have it. That has been my initial reaction to the Interstellar Song Contest. An interesting story. I think that there's some great ideas within this story, and I think this story is spinning so many plates, and some of those plates just get dropped, which is a bit of a shame, because I think there's some real great stuff to enjoy within this story, like the characterization of the 15th Doctor. It's got some nice visuals within this story, and I think that it has some quite dark moments, let alone sort of the Doctor's sort of twist. You know, the idea of sort of all those spectators just sort of floating off in space, even though they are still alive. Yeah, was quite a sort of, oh, that's quite a shocking moment. Like, oh wow, the new series is doing this. Yeah, I think that it sort of captures the fun, I think, of Eurovision. But I think that the story sort of mishandles these big moments, like the reveal of Mrs. Flood as the Rani. I think that this does seem like a bit of a backfire and misfire within the actual series itself. And the more I think about this story, this could possibly be my least favourite of the series so far. Yeah, maybe I need to rewatch it to properly digest and unpack those ideas that are presented within this story. But this is just my initial reaction to it. But I think, yeah, there's some good stuff, but overall I just feel a bit okay by it, really. So there we go, that has been my initial reaction to the Interstellar Song Contest. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here, because it really does help the channel out, and there's plenty more related Doctor Who content coming up in the near future. So thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.